Hi guys, and welcome to what is going to be the very first episode in my new podcast series. Not sure what I'm going to be calling it yet, but it's going to have Big Al in there somewhere. Big Al's wisdom. I don't know, something like that. Big Al's diary. Let's just go with it. It'll evolve as it goes on, right? But this podcast, I'm really excited to do it really because this is pretty much how my YouTube channel started over 10 years ago, where, vlogs were the thing. I was kind of like at the sort of tail end of the first generation of the original YouTubers, and everything was vlogs back then. It was so simple, really. And I would sit down and talk about my workouts. I would tell you what I did. I have got rid of those old videos. Unfortunately, I should have kept them as reference, but they, so badly dated compared to today's standards, right? But today's first step is towards a new sort of old school series, as I say, in this form of a podcast. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this podcast series just to talk to you, hopefully entertain you. I certainly don't want you bored, right? But also really to just talk about everyday life, talk about the past, the future, hopes, aims, whatever, the whole shebang, right? But one of the reasons I started this, I was sort of advised, inspired. I'm not sure really what the correct term is, but I've had a lot of people here on YouTube, young lads in their late teens, very early 20s, come to me almost like a father figure. I mean, it's strange, right? Because, I'm not too old. Yes, I'm grey in hair, and apparently my beard is more grey than it is red now, apparently, according to my missus. The other day I was surprised. I thought it looked very red, but apparently it's actually more grey than it is red these days. But being long in tooth, grey in hair, so to speak, I can see why perhaps now I am more of a father figure to young lads out there. If not a father figure, an uncle figure, or just a positive male role model, which doesn't really exist so much in today's society. There's so much on toxic masculinity and all the rest of it. Don't get me wrong, there are some men out there that are complete, get rid of them, waste of space. And I'll be going on to that later in this particular podcast of a particular example that I've experienced. But being a man, there ain't nothing wrong in that, Being manly, being masculine. I feel that message has been lost. People, a lot of people in today's society have gone the other way and forgotten what being a man's about. And it's nice to have, as I say, younger lads on here look to me as that potential role model to guide them into being what a man actually is. And that's something that we can discuss over this podcast series. I'm clear in my mind what a man is, you know what I mean? It's a question I used to ask myself many years ago when I was younger. I used to say, what makes a man? What is a man? I used to ask it myself all the time in my head, And, now, when I finally realised what a man was, the answer is, you're a man when you stop asking yourself that question. Yeah? Because you just know you're a man, that's it. You just know it. And that's not an answer really. But when you are a man inside, when you're a man in your own eyes, within your own personal image, so to speak, your personal sort of understanding of yourself, is when you stop asking yourself that question anymore. Because you just know it, you feel it, you are it. So what's the point in asking that question anymore? But for me, a man is a person who takes on responsibilities and fulfills those responsibilities to the utmost of his capacity and his capabilities. He doesn't make excuses. He doesn't say, mañana, tomorrow, a bit later, mate, or that will do. No, I've got this to do and I do it. Yes, there are hardships on the way, but that's what being a man's about, right? Tackling hardships, getting through barriers, getting through the barricades and the problems that life throws at you, and still at least going all out to achieve whatever you need to do. And failure is part of being a man also. I'm not saying you succeed every time. You will fail probably more times than you succeed. But it's all about that gradual progression towards an ultimate goal that changes from time to time. It's not set. It's not set in stone what you're going for, but you're constantly trying to progress yourself by also then progressing others. Ultimately, I've always said, once I realised what a man was, is that a man is someone who suffers so that the women and children can prosper. That's the way I see it. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate down here. I'm probably going to get told, oh, that's cheesy at the very least, or I may even get some man haters or whatever, or people who believe that's toxic masculinity, but I don't care. That's what I truly believe, that a man is someone, as I say, who takes on responsibilities and suffers as a result, most likely, but does so because it betters those around them and it makes someone else's life easier who matters to them. For me, it's my missus and her family and all the rest of it, right? So, obviously one day if I have children, if I'm lucky enough, then it'll be for them also. This is what you do. As a man, you help those you care for. You care for them in your own particular brand and way. It's not to say women don't do the same. They do, absolutely, but they do it differently, but potentially. But this, as I say, is what it is to be a man. It's that willingness to just, I had it myself at a talk one day. Basically, you're willing to eat shit and do whatever you have to get to where you need to be, within obviously reasonable limits. And that's what being a man's about. I'm waffling, guys. This talk wasn't actually supposed to be the definition of a man, but it kind of does leading nicely to a few of the things I was talking about. As I say, there are hardships in life, and there are people, as I say, one of the ways I define what being a man is that you make life easier for those you care about. But the world is full of one of two types of people: those kind of people who make your life easier, and those who make your life harder. And that's really where we're going with the rest of this talk. And the reason I'm going on to this is, as I say, I've had a few lads come to me, as I say, almost seeing me almost like a father figure, and I wasn't so lucky with my father, let's put it that way. Okay, let's just go straight through and cut it down, right? Don't get me wrong, he has his good points. And I dare say I've got quite a lot of happy memories, time spent with him. And it hurts me that I'm no longer in contact with him in many ways. Or it did hurt me. I'm over that now, I'm through it, I'm past it. But our separation was necessary, but it was a painful necessity for myself. And that is because my father was verbally and emotionally a very highly abusive man my whole life. And the problem is, because I loved him, and say he was a good father in many ways, but he had one bad streak through him, you know what I mean? But because when I was a kid, you see things through rose-tinted glasses. I loved him, I admired him. I often said, if I'm half the man he is when I grow up, half the father he is, I will die happy. Oh my fucking God. If that happens, my God, no, I do not want to be him. I will not be the man he is, because he was not good to me. It, as a whole, was not good to me. And as I said, because he was emotionally and verbally highly abusive. Don't get me wrong, there are far worse people out there to be fathered by. I'm not saying that, but if I didn't have such a strong personality, a stronger mind, and a stronger willpower as I've got, I wouldn't have survived him. I wouldn't be here talking to you about this, because I would be a wreck, or I'd be dead, or whatever. you know, and talking about suicide and that ain't an easy topic to talk about. It's a serious topic. You should never talk about that in jest, in light. You know, it's a serious topic because people go through it every day. But, you know, he almost drove me to suicide at one point. You know, that's a big, heavy topic. There's another discussion for another day. Him and the life circumstances I was going through at the time, but he was a major influence in it, and he made things worse. Like, you know, as I say, life sometimes throws hardships at you, and there are those people who make things easier. I help you cope with it, and there are those who make it worse by piling on more pressure on you and making you feel even worse about yourself. And ultimately, that's the life that I had for many, many years. As I say, never physically abusive, never struck me. We did, towards the end, get very close to having, you know, a bit of fisticuffs, a bit of a fight, fist-to-fist fight. I mean, he's a big man, you know. I get my size from him, you know. At his peak, he was 24 stone, and he's my height, you know. I mean, he's 24 stone is, 150 kilos, around that sort of weight, you know, 340 pounds for the Americans out there, around that, probably a little bit bigger. Solid muscle. Stronger than me, pound for pound stronger than me, bigger than me, so stronger than me outright. Don't get me wrong, I could outlift him on a few things, but no, I could not compete with him on strength, you know, but I was willing to fight him. Yeah, I'm a damn good fighter. And the more important thing is, as I say, I was willing to fight him because I was willing to fight for my freedom. Towards the end, I was willing to take a beating, but give it back if that's what I needed to do to get out, you know. Luckily, it never came to that, but, you know, when you're staring down someone and you're like, let's do it then, let's do it. I mean, oh, got to the point, man, come on then, let's fucking do it, let's do it, you know. Luckily, he backed down because I would have come out with a broken jaw and probably a couple of missing teeth, and I would have hurt him. I would have hurt him more than he hurt me, you know. Well, that would have made me feel bad because I didn't want to do that, you know what I mean? Despite all the abuse I've had over the years, I didn't want to hurt him. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did. But as I say, years and years of abuse, that leaves scars upon you, impressions. You know, I'm here on YouTube, guys. One of the reasons I started doing YouTube, one of the reasons you may not know of, because I've never talked about it before, was because I have no confidence. And coming on here, talking to people, as I say, originally it was vlogs, so there's much of this sort of, this kind of presentation, I suppose. This was a fantastic way for me to develop my confidence. It was also a great way for me to practice certain things. Like, I have quite a severe lisp. I had to have many years of elocution to learn how to pronounce words properly and correctly, and I don't really hear my lisp either, so when I speak, when I talk, you know, I kind of have to, I can't hear when I'm saying things wrong. I have to remember where to put my tongue. I had an operation on my tongue for it as well to help me out a little bit, otherwise I've been a bit like Chris Eubanks, you know, like, I can't do it, as I say, I can't hear this, but Chris Eubanks, is it like that? Yeah, it sounds like that, definitely. I would have been like that. So luckily I wasn't that bad, but I do struggle with pronunciation. So the point where sometimes it makes things hard for people to understand me. I remember in school, first day in school, I asked my form tutor, in secondary school this is, for a sheet of paper. I believe I'm saying that right. But he wasn't, you know, I asked, could I have a sheet? But he was like, a seat or a sheet? I think I'm saying those right? So a chair or a piece of paper. So you see, I've learned how to get around things. So I was like, can I have a piece of paper, mate, instead of sheet? Because say SH, SE, they're one of the problems that I have dealing with pronunciations. So you learn other ways of saying things, but sometimes you just can't get around it. And now I embrace it. I am who I am, as I say. I've had YouTube, luckily, to be able to build up the confidence along with other things as well. I'm actually very happy to do public speaking now, especially learning, as I said, that it benefits certain people, that people either find it entertaining or find it educational or find it that it brings them through their own hard times. When I have shared videos on content like that, it's a lovely thing, right? But as I say, despite what you may see now, I've never really had any confidence, and I still don't have confidence, guys, in my own abilities. I've never competed in powerlifting. I'm a big, strong guy. I could do really well. I've never actually competed in a public competition. I've done a few record lifts, but I've always done it with organisations that let you kind of do it under controlled circumstances, like at home and that. And the reason I do that is because I don't have the confidence to perform in front of people as a whole, not unless I'm very familiar with you. And obviously that's something that I get over, as I say. Part of being a man is doing what you need to do, but that lack of confidence is still there, and that lack of confidence is because of my old man. One of the ways he would abuse me, it sounds minor. Maybe that's me making excuses for him again, right? Probably is. But to me, I feel bad saying it almost. But for example, his father was a shouter, a screamer, a really nasty man, yeah? So he got abuse off his father, and shit rolls downhill, basically. The generational trauma gets passed on. So he rebelled against his own father and said, I'm never going to do that again. I'm not going to be like him. And he corrected a lot of the errors his own father made. So to say he wasn't overly abusive with me, because, like, for example, his father took my dad's two front teeth out. His two front teeth are fake because his father fucking punched him in the face, and he was a bare knuckle fighter, by the way, really good bare knuckle fighter, champion, so he could punch. So yes, I've got my own teeth, right? But that's not saying just because you're comparing yourself to the worst of the worst, literally, physically, mentally, emotionally, and verbally abusive, doesn't mean that you're not getting abused yourself, right? And let's say for him, he didn't do that, and he used, but the problem was that he, as a result, thought he was a saint. He would often talk to himself about, oh yeah, I'm not like my dad, I'm really good to you, I don't shout, I don't scream. And he'd always throw that in my face when we were getting into an argument as I was getting older and, actually starting to try and stand up for myself a little bit. Hey, I don't shout at you, as he's shouting at me. I don't shout at you. Yeah, but sometimes you don't actually have to raise your voice to be intimidating, to be nasty, to be harmful. You know what I mean? So, you might not be raising your voice all the time, but your words, what you say and how you say it, just as important as how loud you say it. Just because you're not raising your voice as loud as you can, you're still raising it. But here we go, as I was saying. One of the main ways in which it's insidious, that's the problem of it, as I say, because he was giving himself virtue, making himself, and felt genuinely like he was a saint. He thought he was being a good man, a good father, even when he was being mad. No, it's for your own good, or whatever. Consequently, he didn't realise when he was being an arsehole. And so, as I say, for example, when I won stuff, I'm a good sportsman, I always have been my whole life. When I won stuff, I'd get praise, good. When I came second, even if it was out of 100 people, or third, or dare I say, not do very well at all, because obviously I wasn't good at all sport, right? Oh, I get it. I would get it. Anything other than first, anything other than the best of the best of the best, and even sometimes when you come first, if you haven't done as well as what he was wanting from you, expecting from you, you're a failure. What the hell are you doing that for? Why have you let that happen? You should never have let that happen. What's going on? And this is not like, I'm all for, if you've gone and done something and you haven't put any effort in and you failed because, well, you deserve to fail because you didn't want it. You just thought it was going to be an easy walk. It was an easy walk through the park sort of thing, and you went in there unprepared and you lost. Well, that is on you. Don't get me wrong. I'm not all about hampy-pampy fucking covering you up in bubble wrap. I am quite tough and harsh myself like that. But that's not harsh, that's just being realistic. But if you've done your best and you're just simply bettered by someone on that day, or for some reason you just don't achieve what maybe you might get in the gym, but you just don't achieve on the day. Sometimes that happens. That's not failure. You've tried. You did your best on the day. You've either done really well and someone was just better than you because they've got that little bit more talent, or they had a bit more time to prepare, or circumstances, right? Sometimes you just can't be the best. It's as simple as that. There's only one champion, only one winner, and that doesn't always have to be you. Well, that does not then deserve you to be, as I say, verbally abused. Now, I was blind to that up until really last year or so, because then I was talking to, other members of the family who observed stuff like that, and they were the ones who made me aware of how he was with me. I don't remember it really. I do now looking back at it, but I never understood that. I was like, no, he's right. I need to be the best. I wasn't good enough, and that's about, as you can see, the confidence was worn away, because if I wasn't 100% the best every single time, I was the worst. I was pointless. Worthless, because these are the words that were going through my head, having been parroted to me through my father. But then I was talking to family members, and they're like, oh yeah, on that sports day. A sports day, who cares? It's a kid's sports day, for God's sake. Who cares if you win or whatever? I came second, as I say. No, sorry, I came third. And it was in discus. I was in discus, and I came third out of our school was really good at sport. And I came third out of a very good group of people. That's an achievement looking back at it. I think, wow. But he had a go at me in front of everyone, in front of the entire school, in front of all the parents, all my friends, in front of my grandparents who were there. And my granddad, my mum's dad, he turned round and he goes, well, maybe you should have had a better trainer then, because my dad said, was like, oh, I taught him, he hasn't listened to me and all that. And he actually turned around and said to him, he was a good man, my grandfather, he was a really good man. He says, well, maybe you should have had a better trainer then. Oh, cut him deep in front of everyone, I didn't hear that, I didn't notice it. I weren't there maybe at that point, because as I say, he carried on after I'd gone back into the change rooms or whatever, and I'd forgotten about it. But that kind of stuff, and that's minor. Things got worse over the years. That's dealing with a kid. What was I, 12, 13, 14 at the oldest at the time? I think I was 12 or 13. That's a bully. That's a bully picking on a 12-year-old kid. You know what I mean? Who is in a position of love for you, that love and admiration. They're going to listen to what you say and take it on board, and that's not good. That is abuse, right? And as I say, that's probably the best example I can think of the kind of erosion of my confidence. But it happens, it happened even. And over the years, I gained, I suppose, my confidence when, as I say, I became a man. And as I say, I got to do what just take, regardless of anything, you got to do what you do. And my eyes were opened up a little bit more when I started going out with my wife to be. We're getting married very soon. That'll be on another podcast. She's disabled, so she's somewhat dependent on me. And it's not just about the disability that she's got from the car crash that we were in many years ago. Again, I'll talk about that another time. But there's a love and respect there. And so when I'm hurt, when I'm brought down, she sees it because she loves me. She sees and saw all the abuse that I went through and started to open my eyes going, why are you standing up for that? If anyone else, like a random stranger or anyone else that you knew other than your father said that to you, you'd be in their fucking face. What the fuck, mate? You don't take shit from anyone, because I don't. You don't do that. Why are you letting him push you around so much? Why are you letting him treat you like a slave? Why are you letting him abuse you? Why are you letting him hurt you? Why are you letting him give you nightmares? Why are you letting, the list goes on, right? And because I love and respect her, you listen. And you start seeing the truth. And then you start going, start being the person you would be for anyone else. You start losing your patience, your sense of duty to them, your love for them even. Don't love him anymore. I didn't, when we said our final goodbyes, I didn't love him. He was dead to me. So, and he is dead to me. So, as I say, I got past that. But getting to that point is very difficult. And as I say, for a lot of the people who watch my stuff, they're inspired by my training videos or my other talk videos I've done on here before in the past. My word of advice to you is that life is too short to have people in your life who make your life worse, who make you unhappy, who make you sad. And sometimes those people you don't realise are the people that I'm talking about because you love them, and love is blind. Abuse and suffering abuse is so much more possible when you love the person, because you're just willing to tolerate it and you're willing to ignore it. And it's not like you're making a conscious decision not to see it. It's why so many people, women especially, get abused by like their husbands, for example. And people go, why are they letting that happen? Why don't they go to the police? Or why don't they, divorce them, leave them, whatever? And it's because they don't actually know half the time that they're going through it because of love. Love is a wonderful thing, but it can make you stupid. And sometimes you just got to stop loving someone when they're not good for you, And as I say, my word of advice to you guys is, as I say, I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I was in a car crash with my missus in 2016, end of 2016. It was horrific. We were hit on the motorway by a big 35-ton truck going 55 miles per hour whilst we were stationary in traffic. How we survived? Well, pure fate, basically. We weren't meant to die that day. I say that, I did die. I was dead for a period of time, my heart stopped. And as I say, I was 28 at the time, 28 years old, and I did not expect to die in my 20s. And I could have stayed dead. I've done videos on it before, what I saw on the other side, so to speak, my experiences of death. I can talk about that again if you guys want, let me know. But ultimately, what I learned was today, could be our last day, You don't know. You think you're going to live to 70, 80, 90 years old, but chances are actually there could be something really bad around the corner. And you could die in your 20s like I did for, as I say, a period of time. And there's one thing having that said to you. I've had people say life's too short, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't mean something to you quite as much as when you go through it. But nonetheless, I'm going to say to you guys, please listen. It's too short to have. Life is too short to have people in your life who don't add to your life. If they take away, if they're what I call leeches, they sap your soul, they sap your energy, they sap your willpower, your finances, whatever it might be. If they're there just to take, and they don't give anything back in return, it's time to cut them loose. That's my genuine advice. I've never been happier since I said my goodbye. I mourned him for 2 years. 2 years I mourned him. Like you would, a parent who had died. I mourned him. I mourned my loss of my relationship with him, even though it wasn't at the end a very good one. In fact, it was a very, very bad one towards the end. But I still mourned him nonetheless. You can't turn love off, It's not a switch where you can turn it off. Nah, it stays on for a long time. But in the long term, my God, I'm so much happier. So much more. It's like a weight lifted off my chest. Not having him in my life anymore. And I can only hope the same for you guys if you're ever going through a similar position yourself. Anyway, that might give you a little bit more insight into who I am, be Al, You've seen me on YouTube, as I say, for over 10 years, and I have done talks in the past, although mostly for entertainment purposes, like what's it like to be a bouncer. Maybe we'll talk about some bouncer stories on here. But they're always entertaining. Don't worry, guys, these podcasts aren't always going to be heavy. No. I've got a lot of good things in my life to talk about. One of the things I have, right, so the car crash that I was in 2016, is I suffered very bad memory damage because I did receive quite a lot of brain damage from the blow that I got to the back of my head, which is why I got a big scar across my back of the head, and also obviously being dead for a little while, my heart being stopped, I'm assuming some lack of oxygen damage also occurred. Ultimately, one of the things I suffer from PTSD, that's something I can talk about at one point if anyone wants to talk about that, but is amnesia. I don't really remember many things. I have a sense of dissociation with myself, the person I was before the crash. Obviously, when you take a big blow to the back, to the head, and you receive brain damage, there's always a chance that you can have personality changes. I'm not saying necessarily I had that, I have, but for the better. But I'm a slightly different person to what I was before the crash, and as a result, I don't see myself as the person I was before. I don't relate fully. It's like having read a book or watched a TV series and being very familiar with one of the characters. Yeah, you know what you've seen, what you've heard on the telly or in the book or whatever. And you might be intimately knowledgeable of what happened. You might do an essay on it, and as a result, know word for word every paragraph. But it doesn't make it your memories, right? And it feels like that. My old memories don't really feel like my memories, and I don't have a lot of them anyway, because as I say, I suffer from very poor amnesia, long-term and short-term memory loss, and so I can't remember much of the past. I also can't remember much of the present, and as a result, don't unfortunately develop many long-term memories. So for me, this podcast, when I started YouTube, one of the advantages of me doing my vlogs and stuff, one of the reasons and motivations behind it wasn't for views. I've never chased views on YouTube. You guys probably can tell that from my channel, because even though I've got some videos that do really, really well, on the most part I do content that I like to produce. And if it gets 20 views, which a lot of them do, cool, whatever. I'm doing it for myself and for the people who do enjoy watching it. But I'm not going to do a video or do a challenge video or, follow a trend just because I can get 100,000 views on a video. I mean, I've got 2.5 million views on one of my videos, but that was a video that I genuinely wanted to produce. I produced it in such a way that I knew it would do well for views, but, nonetheless, I know how to get the views. I just, unless it's to do with something I enjoy, I'm not here. I'm not here to do that. My channel is very genuine, is what I will say. And so for me, as I say, whenever I've done my YouTube, it's always been really a record of my memories, so I can come back and see how well I've trained, how well I've progressed in my training, because it's obviously a training channel first and foremost. For me, it's a weights journal, online video weights journal. I've always written down my workouts, so it just complements that, right? And really, I suppose this is what this podcast is for me, is a way of me recording my thoughts, experiences and memories of today and what I can remember of the past when they pop up, because I don't really stay there, they can come in and come out. Lets me record things, and hopefully, 20 years time I can look back and I go, oh wow, yeah, I forgot about that. Don't remember that, but it sounds cool. If I survive 20 years, right, I'll be completely grey then. I'll fucking be bold probably. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. That's the main thing. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you connected with some of the stuff I said. As I say, it's not always going to be harsh on here, heavy stuff on here. No. Some of it's going to be very light-hearted, very easy, very highly entertaining stuff as well. It's going to be a mix and match. As I say, it's more like a sort of journal or diary, guys, yeah? As you see, no edits, no editing. As I used to do in the old days, film it one take, that's it. That's all I get, because it's the most genuine way of presenting to you. So with that, good luck, goodbye, and I will see you soon. I don't know when I'll do my next podcast, but hopefully make it a more regular thing. Hopefully a few short ones, like 1 minute or 2 minutes long, some of them half an hour long like this one. Anyway guys, I'll see you soon, bye bye.